don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt enough to chastise people celebrating it. You couldn't find it in your heart to chastise people for celebrating the near assassination of a man who was president of the United States and maybe again?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry. And the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country has seen in recent history, that they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, if you call somebody a Nazi for so long, it's, what do you expect people to do? I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the radio. You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us. You've got COVID lockdowns that were done because the government was trying to take all your freedom away. They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th. They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you. Like, I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should go out and kill anybody. But when you engage in this type of rhetoric and when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again, there is absolutely no room for you to be shocked or surprised.
So in this clip, he wants to ask or claim that conservatives are asking for sympathy after this. All he really did was just deflect from the question, how can you present yourself as somewhat of the moral high ground, but as soon as something happened where someone died and other people got hurt, all of a sudden you want to deflect to how conservatives were the ones turning the temperature up, and it's our fault that the reason why this has happened. It's Donald Trump's fault, and the reason why it happened to him was basically because of everything he said. That's essentially all he really said there. And you're going to notice that that's really all he knows how to do is deflect. Okay, I heard what you said, deflect. Let's talk about this. I heard what you said, I acknowledge it, deflect. And sometimes he doesn't even really acknowledge it. Sometimes you can tell he's not even really listening to what you have to say. He's kind of just waiting for you to stop making noises, and he's already got his response on the go. So.
And there certainly isn't room for you to ask for sympathy.
But you say you don't want anybody killed. And yet you say, I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt to chastise people celebrating it. It's people celebrating the near assassination of Donald Trump. If you can't find it in you to chastise people who do that, aren't you just as despicable as the people you've just spent the last 2 minutes haranguing?
No, because they've led the way. This is the environment that they've created.
So see, that's kind of what I was getting at. There's no way that he would ever say that was unacceptable. The reason why is because then he would have to acknowledge that, what happened was a terrible thing, but he's kind of using that would you kill baby Hitler train of thought. He thinks it's okay that someone tried to assassinate President Trump because he believes that it would have been a net positive had that happened. And it doesn't matter that someone else died as a result of it or that the people got hurt. He's not going to say that. The reason why he can't say that is because he still wants to be platformed. He's no longer platformed because of some of the crap that he says. He's someone that says the most edgy, unhinged stuff that I've ever heard. And it's kind of like when you go to the zoo and you go there to watch the weird stuff that you don't ever really get to see in normal civilized society. So what you do is you go to the zoo and you go and admire from afar. That's really what Destiny does. He says the most unhinged crap, and it finally came back to bite him. Having said that, he's never going to acknowledge that this shouldn't have happened. He believes it should have, and he has absolutely no sympathy for it, and he's going to divert and say that, why are you asking for sympathy when all of this happened during January 6th? That's all he's really going to say. He's just trying to deflect and try to take away from the fact that he's basically doing the would you kill baby Hitler.
You think behaving like the people you think are despicable is the correct course of action?
Not about behaving like the people who are despicable would be leading that type of rhetoric. It would be denying every single bad thing. How many times as a liberal? How many times as a liberal have you been on a show? Not you in general, but like a liberal been on a show and you've been forced to disavow all of the BLM riots, disavow all of the violence, and blah blah blah. And then you talk to conservatives about it. January 6th. That was a false flag. Yeah. January 6th. Oh, like conservatives disavow January 6th?
Wait. First off, there's an entire cultural machine that has lied. There is an entire
we just saw it in real time. That's it.
What?
See, that's what I'm talking about. He wants you to disavow January 6th. January 6th was a terrible thing that happened, completely unrelated to what we're talking about. And again, he's going to constantly deflect to it. Want to know why? Because he doesn't have anything of actual value or sustenance to defend his position. His position is just, this is your fault. This is the reason why it happened. You're the reason why that shot was, the temperature was turned up to where someone took a shot at President Trump. It's all your fault. And again, he's going to do this merry-go-round. So when he debated Ben Shapiro, he always said that conservatives like to do a merry-go-round, and here he is doing the same merry-go-round himself. So he's very inconsistent. You actually have to watch, and believe me, it's tough to watch this dude. You actually have to watch a good amount of his content to really pick apart some of the mental gymnastics he likes to do. And believe me, I try not to watch his stuff, but if you're going to actually say something about him, you should maybe listen to what he has to say and listen to some of his ideas, so that way you can actually pick it apart. Because my God, watching him it's a chore. It is brain rot. And there are people that really watch him and think this dude like has some moral authority. It's crazy. Moving on.
Wait. First off,
That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy for anything that happens as a result of their rhetoric. That's it. It's so easy. Like, it's so simple.
Okay, but look,
I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, but I would say this is the type of person that the internet has broke their brain, thus leaving them with very little empathy for their co-human. I mean, a good, decent father is now dead because of this. He's had his brains blown out because he was defending his wife and daughter. I would hope that you have a little empathy for that.
Let me jump in there, because we have a clip of what Destiny has said about that very thing. Let's listen to this.
Fuck it. Fuck the dude. The firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am. 100%.
See, I'll give him this. He's not leaving much to your imagination. He's outright telling you, it doesn't matter if you're a fan of his or not. If you don't agree with his politics, if you don't agree with his opinion and you die, he's making fun of you. I mean, he's being honest with you. So if that's how true to the cause you are, where you're okay with dying and being made fun of, following this dude, whatever. And by the way, there's people in those crowds that aren't there because they love Trump. There's reporters there. There's people's spouses that are there just because their spouse or significant other is a part of that crowd, and they're just there to be there. And going to a crowd, does that justify you dying? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not even gonna say I don't know. I don't think so. That doesn't justify you dying. Just like if you were at a Joe Biden rally, I don't think any violence should happen there. And you know what? I'm not going to act all high and mighty like I don't have a strong opinion about one way or the other. But for you to go on Piers Morgan's show and just say that, it says a lot. And he's not going to hold himself accountable to what he just said. All he's going to say is, it's your guys' fault that the temperature is turned up. And even after it happened, it's still your fault. So he's just being honest. The emperor's clothes have come off, and we see who you really are.
I mean, I got to say, I just found that repulsive, Destiny.
I wish that there is no room. There is no room for the hand-wringing, and I will not participate in this anymore.
Oh, it's not hand-wringing.
The hand-wringing. No,
it
absolutely is.
No, it's just that you are positioning yourself.
So well.
No, but Destiny, let me explain to you.
Where conservatives can say anything.
No, I'm not a conservative.
They can have any conspiracy theory.
I'm not a conservative.
They can have any plot. They can do anything, and then liberals are supposed to sit here and be like, "Oh my God, it's so tragic."
No, Destiny.
Absolutely not.
Let me explain.
Absolutely.
Let me explain my position, because I'm not a conservative. I'm not on either side in your race, right? Here's what I think about what you did. You'd like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury at how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they never have any empathy, blah, 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 blah. And then you yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead, that he deserved what was coming to him because he went to a President Trump rally, a man who was president of the United States until recently for 4 years and maybe again. You sound almost gleeful, Destin, and I'm sorry, that makes you, frankly, despicable.
I don't think Piers Morgan should apologize about that. He's right. He's dead on right about that. he's downright gleeful about it, and Destiny's just gonna say, "I'm not gleeful about it," as he smiles ear to ear. Come on now, stop lying.
I don't think I'm gleeful about anything. I don't think anybody should die. I don't think anybody deserves to die.
I don't think anyone deserves to die, but he's gonna make fun of you if you die at a Trump rally. Make it make sense.
But you want to talk about gleeful? Look at the conservative response to Pelosi's husband when they broke in.
I can answer that.
Mainstream media figures
I can answer that.
I don't care.
I can answer that.
With all due respect, I don't care what your answer is.
Let me answer that.
The reality is that conservatives have been turning the temperature up on the rhetoric. They have been making fun of these types of events for years, and now when something happens to them, now they're looking for sympathy from the liberal side. Absolutely not. It's insane. It's unhinged that you can conduct yourself in such a manner and expect people to feel sorry when things happen.
Why should anybody on the right listen to a word of your hectoring and lecturing about how they should behave? And by the way, for the record, the mockery of Nancy Pelosi's husband when he was attacked by an intruder with a hammer was also despicable, right? I can see despicable behavior on all sides, and I'm happy to call it out when I see it. You, however, want to present yourself as this great kind of standard bearer of decency who sees outrageous behavior on the right time and again and is incensed by this disgusting, inhumane behavior. And yet time and again, since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, you have displayed exactly the same kind of inhumane behavior. Fuck him about a fireman who is killed because he attends a rally of a guy he wants to vote for.
My issue with the MAGA kids is not that they are not empathetic. My issue is that they support a president that led an insurrection against the United States. I'm not here to tone police over their empathy.
80 million people voted for Donald Trump last time around.
That's great. 80 million people voted for a guy that tried to insurrect the government, and it looks like they might try to do it again. I mean, like, I don't know what you want me to say. These are the facts on the ground. The idea that
you don't like attacks on democracy. So presumably you would unreservedly condemn the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, because that's one of the most egregious attacks on American democracy of modern times. Presumably, you will take this opportunity, given you are so determined to protect the integrity of democracy, you would find it absolutely outrageous that someone has tried to assassinate a president, right?
If the other conservatives on this show want to say that it was absolutely outrageous that Donald Trump attempted to coup the government, then maybe I would. Yeah, no, I'm not going to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness or show sympathy to conservatives.
I'm not asking for that.
Before he gets too deep into his random train of thought there, he said the quiet part out loud again. My issue isn't the sympathy or the empathy. It's you support someone I don't like. Therefore, it's okay if you die. Okay? He said it. Just take a moment, let that marinate, let that sink in. That's really all this is about with him. He's gleeful, smiling ear to ear that this happened because something terrible happened to someone he doesn't like and doesn't agree with. That's all it is. The rest is just going to be mental gymnastics and word salad and smoke and mirrors.
I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell, frankly, Destiny,
absolutely not.
Why the hell should we listen to a word you have to say about...
Why do you think conservatives haven't been listening to a word that liberals have said about anything for 8 years?
Right,
what do you think is going to change?
They?
You think that liberals come out now and they go, oh my God, this was so horrible?
But here's
you think
my
they're going to
point.
go, wow, that is true.
Charlie, I'll bring you in at the end of this, I promise you, and you'll get a good chance to respond. But here's my problem, Destiny, with your whole position on this, right? Is that you don't actually have anything inside you that you want the other side to have. You don't have any of the empathy. You don't have any sympathy. You don't care that someone tried to assassinate Donald Trump. You don't care that a young fireman with a family was killed in the process. You don't actually. You are not the person you want these other people to be. And all you do is play whataboutery with every question I give you.
Again, saying the quiet part out loud, he just said that if the conservatives were to yield to his point of view, then maybe he would agree with us. You can't make it make sense. Well, it makes sense in the fact that he wants to always be right. And the thing is he also wants to be consistent. Sometimes he strays away from being consistent, and these are one of the times where it's finally catching back up to him. He's saying that everything is the conservatives' movement's fault. The temperature in the United States has been dialed up because of Trump's rhetoric, and then all of a sudden when someone takes a shot at him, it's his fault. I would just want to keep in mind that all Piers Morgan is trying to say is, how are you going to be this hypocritical about what you're saying? And then he played a video of everything that Destiny has said to contradict him. And again, He won't take any kind of accountability. He won't even acknowledge that he's contradicting himself. He just can't. All he does is do smoke and mirrors and try to divert the point. It's cool. We get it. Just be honest about it. If you were honest about it, maybe someone would take you a little bit more seriously. Hopefully people start realizing what kind of a sham this guy is.
And I'm just startled.
It's not, what about it? We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the temperature of this country. But here's a question for the two panelists. What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric? What do they think the answer to that question is?
Let's be honest about that for a second. There's only one candidate right now that had a gag order placed on him. Just saying.
Percentage could it be that the other side, as we've just heard from Dave Rubin, has spent 8 years calling Donald Trump the new Adolf Hitler, a person who was responsible for the murder of 12 million people, including 6 million Jewish people in a Holocaust? Last time I checked, Donald Trump hasn't murdered 12 million people. So much as you would like him to be the new Hitler, he's not. But again, to an impressionable young deranged mind who has easy access to guns, that can be easily interpreted as an existential threat, said President Biden. Somebody that needs to be put in the bullseye, said Biden.
Okay,
only last week. And guess what? Guess what? Somebody then comes forward and tries to kill the existential threat.
Rhetoric? Who is engaged in more divisive rhetoric over the 8 years? If you had to guess, if you had to assign a rough percentage,
again, you're playing whataboutery. Again, you're deflecting.
It's not whataboutery.
Just as Joe Biden did last night. Just as Joe Biden did with Lester Holt on NBC last night. Every time he was asked, "Have you done any soul searching about your own rhetoric, your own ill-advised use of language?" He deflected it back to attacks on Trump. And you're doing exactly the same thing with Republicans.
And I will do the exact same thing.
You say Republicans are...
You want Biden
you say that they are lacking in...
comment when Donald Trump was saying Second Amendment people could maybe do something about Hillary Clinton. Like, no, it's absolutely deranged. The double standard that's being asked here is insane. And you heard both of them say it earlier. How much did Donald Trump's rhetoric contribute to the current environment? Oh, not much at all. Like, no, yeah, I'm not going to say anything to these people, of course.
Hey, Donald Trump said it himself during the debate. He didn't even really want to go for the second term. He wanted to just sit back and relax, but from how things were being ran, he wasn't happy about it, so he decided to run a second time. It was only then that all of his problems started, with all of the Me Too stuff, trying to seize his assets, silencing him, the convictions, the assassination attempt. All that only happened because he's running. And Destiny's over here trying to say that he's being more divisive. Okay. Oh, okay.
Not.
You see, Destiny,
seem oddly unversed in any of the current events that have happened over the last couple of years. First off, politics is downstream from culture, right? And what has happened to our culture in the last 8 years? What has happened to our culture is that the mainstream media has lied about everything, always to the detriment of right-leaning people, whether it is the Russia hoax or COVID or Brett Kavanaugh's a serial rapist or the Covington kids.
This was brutal to watch, because finally someone went right up to Destiny and said, "You're a hypocrite. How could you say this when you also say this?" And then Destiny, for once, finally just said the quiet part out loud. I would if you would. It doesn't matter. It's your fault. That's all he is. That's all he'll ever say to you. So he's a professional, useless person. And I really don't understand how someone... You know what? This is a perfect example of someone who is truly bought into the crap that they're selling. I really do believe that Destiny believes the crap he says. I really do believe it. And I also want to thank him for being a shining example of what wokeism ultimately yields. This is the top tier, the final evolution of the scale of wokeism. This is where you ultimately end up. He masquerades himself as a intellectual, but all he really is someone who used smoke and mirrors and diversion tactics and who talks really fast. You know, when I watched the Ben Shapiro debate with him, most of the comments were just commenting about how both people, especially when you speed up the commentary, it was just a lot to take in. When you ultimately came down to it, when he was debating Ben Shapiro, he debated very differently than how he talks to most people. And the reason why is because when he's finally in the room with someone who can tit for tat match his speed, his energy, but actually hit him with some facts, most of what he said is, "I can agree with you, but I'm 100% on board, but..." It's all he is but diversion, but diversion. Okay, he's not a serious person. All he does is he sticks with his same talking points, And then as soon as you bring something up, he's going to do the what about that Piers Morgan kept bringing up. So I want you to keep that in mind. This is something that I hopefully don't want to make too many videos about. I don't want to get too deep into politics, but geez, man, when I watch these videos, especially the ones with Joy Reid, my goodness, I might even comment below if you want me to make a video about the stuff that Joy Reid's been saying lately, because wow. Well, leave a comment.